Well, I'm gonna share this because yeah, live streaming. So we watched the live streaming. I watched the live streaming in real time, really, and it was crazy. You want to hear it?
Nice crowd. What a good looking group of people. Well, we have some very, very good news today, and a lot of good things are happening for our country.
Yeah, watch. You gotta watch this. This is wild. Just watch what the price is doing. In fact, okay, here we go.
Please sit down. My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day, waiting for a long time. April 2nd, 2025 will forever be remembered as the day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed, and the day that we began to make America wealthy again. We're going to make it wealthy, good and wealthy. For decades, our country has been looted, pillaged, raped, and plundered by nations near and far, both friend and foe alike.
By the way, like the interesting stuff is in the beginning. It gets really really boring. In fact, I just bailed after a little while because it was like really repetitive. But just watch the price of Bitcoin.
American steel workers, auto workers, farmers, and skilled craftsmen. We have a lot of them here with us today. They really suffered gravely. They watched in anguish as foreign leaders have stolen our jobs, foreign cheaters have ransacked our factories, and foreign scavengers have torn apart our once beautiful American dream. We had an American dream that you don't hear so much about. You did 4 years ago, and you are now, but you don't too often, and for many years and decades even, you didn't hear too much about. Our country and its taxpayers have been ripped off for more than 50 years, but it is not going to happen anymore. It's not going to happen. In a few moments, I will sign a historic executive order instituting reciprocal tariffs on countries throughout the world. Reciprocal, that means they do it to us and we do it to them. Very simple. Can't get any simpler than that. This is one of the most important days, in my opinion, in American history. It's our declaration of economic independence. For years, hardworking American citizens were forced to sit on the sidelines as other nations got rich and powerful, much of it at our expense. But now it's our turn to prosper, and in
This is funny because just watching it when I was watching, I was like, oh man, it's already tanking. But just wait.
so doing, use trillions and trillions of dollars to reduce our taxes and pay down our national debt, and it'll all happen very quickly. With today's action, we are finally going to be able to make America great again, greater than ever before. Jobs and factories will come roaring back into our country, and you see it happening already. We will supercharge our domestic industrial base.
Look at that candle, man. That is some red. I mean, it was like barely down, and then it just dropped. But you know, it gets crazier. Just watch.
We will pry open foreign markets and break down foreign trade barriers. And ultimately, more production at home will mean stronger competition and lower prices for consumers. This will be indeed the golden age of America. It's coming back. We're going to come back very strongly. We're pleased to be joined on this momentous occasion by Vice President J.D. Vance. J.D., thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Most of it is like this, by the way. There's like a minute worth of actual news versus like basically him just going around and acknowledging people for 20 minutes or whatever.
Where are you, J.D.? No, that wasn't too hard to find. I was looking, he likes to take a low-key attitude, so usually we sit right in front. He's gaining a lot of confidence, Mike, isn't it? And nearly my entire cabinet is here, as well as Speaker Mike Johnson, who's done an amazing job. And with the great success we had last night in Florida, we have a majority of 7, and 7's like a lot when we had it at 1, right? You've done a fantastic job, and many of the members of the House and Senate are with us. Senators, congressmen, thank you all for being with us. We appreciate it. For decades, the United States slashed our trade barriers on other countries, while those nations placed massive tariffs on our products and created outrageous non-monetary barriers to decimate our industries. And in many cases, the non-monetary barriers were worse than the monetary ones. They manipulated their currencies, subsidized their exports, stole our intellectual property, imposed exorbitant VAT taxes to disadvantage our products, adopted unfair rules and technical standards, and created filthy pollution havens. They were absolutely filthy, but they always came to us and they said, we're violating, we should pay for it. It's all detailed in a very big report by the U.S. Trade Representative on foreign trade barriers, and I'll just hold it up for you. It's available, and you don't have to pay too much. As I understand it, you'll pay nothing. It's a lot of work for something, actually, because it's a special book. It's very, frankly, it's very upsetting.
Frugal, they see the effects of this already in prices in the shop. It should be quite instant, right? The idea with tariffs is to increase prices for populations so that the locals can compete. I don't think it would be instant, honestly. A lot of times these prices take time to kind of trickle. The effects take time to trickle down through the economy. So I don't think it would be instant, actually. But it's interesting because we haven't had these tariff policy like this in a really long time. So I think a lot of people aren't really, there's a lot of theories about the effects, but I always want to see what actually happens, because so far, a lot of things that were, people were complaining about egg prices. Well, the egg prices are starting to come down. That's already been happening. I've actually been seeing prices decrease, and my understanding is that current CPI is at about 1.4%, so well under the 2% target finally, which I think started happening under Biden, to be fair, and it's been climbing downward. One of the things with inflation that I think people forget about Biden is that his administration really was slow to acknowledge it and kind of refused to acknowledge it was happening. Then when it became too stark that they couldn't not acknowledge it, they started telling you it was a good thing. And then finally they got around to, actually wanting to solve it. And then one of the things that really frustrated me, even people like Noah Smith, who I used to kind of respect, I've kind of lost respect for him since he blocks everybody who even gives him the remotest little bit of pushback, like respectful pushback. It's one thing to block people who are like just being obnoxious. I get that. But someone who's like legitimately saying, hey, wait a minute, you think you got this wrong because of XYZ. If you're blocking those people, I just don't have a lot of respect for your intellect, because you should be able to make the case. But people like him were saying, like, when inflation was at like under 4%, they were saying inflation was solved. I'm like, that is not solved. That's still high. Like 2% has been the target. And the reason 1 to 2% is that target range is because it's the amount of inflation that tends to still foster and allow for GDP growth, while also people don't really feel it as much. And if you want to say it's pretend, like, it's definitely not pretend. Like, there's so many examples of like this where, for instance, there was a Chinese place I used to go to and get takeout, and I could get a little General Tso's chicken and an egg roll for like just under $8. Now that's like 12. That's 50% difference. The crackers I get at Aldi, the box of crackers used to be like $1 something. Now it's like over $2. The thing about it too that I think they missed is that when prices go up, or when you have high inflation and you bring it back down to normal inflation, that's still not deflation. That means overall prices are still up, and you still haven't made up for that gain. Now, I have seen things in my life go down, or in my day-to-day life actually decrease in price, especially at the grocery store. Eggs are not one of them. Eggs are crazy, but that's kind of a separate issue because there was a thing with the bird flu or whatever. But I think a lot of it's just amazing to me to hear people who ought to know better, and it just seems like they're making an ideological point. That's the best I can think of, because I really have a hard time understanding how they can say something so dumb like, "Oh, we got inflation, basically defeated." And it's like, not really. You're going the right direction, and that's good. I'm glad we brought it down. And then there's people who will try to say, like, I don't know, there's this crazy modern monetary theory that is the premise seems to be, oh, you can just print a ton of money and it's fine. And it's like, no, it's not. Every time we've printed like way too much money and overcooked the system, the prices just go up. That's how it works. So anyway, yeah, I just wanted to address that. So I'm kind of curious what impact it will have on prices. It kind of depends on how other countries react. Some of these are weird. There's tariffs on countries where we don't. I think they don't even send us anything. Like they don't export anything to us, and vice versa. So it's like, why even bother? I don't know. It's really strange, and I'm very curious to see how this goes. I'm really curious what will transpire, because we really don't know. There's a lot of people saying what they think will happen, and they all have different opinions. But the proof will be in the pudding. There's so many different variables, and I do think it seems odd the way he's handled it. So it's kind of funny how this is, like, you kind of can't help but talk about politics now if you're doing crypto, because it's just so interconnected, especially lately under the Trump administration, but even under Biden. We talked about Gary Gensler and the SEC all the time. So I'm kind of surprised this cuts off, actually, but let's keep going here.
Upsetting when you read it, when you see what people have been doing to us for 30 years. This all happened with no response from the United States of America, none whatsoever. But those days are over. Let me offer just a few examples of the vicious attacks our workers have faced for so many years. The United States charges other countries only a 2.4 tariff on motorcycles. Meanwhile, Thailand and others are charging much higher prices, like 60%. India charges 70%. Vietnam charges 75%, and others are even higher than that.
Damn, you see that? Look how fast that happened. It's crazy. There's more too. There's more.
Likewise, until today, the United States has for decades charged a 2.5 tariff. Think of that, 2.5% on foreign-made automobiles. The European Union charges us more than 10% tariffs, and they have 20% VATs, much, much higher. India charges 70%, and perhaps worst of all are the non-monetary restrictions imposed by South Korea, Japan, and very many other nations as a result of these colossal trade barriers. 81% of the cars in South Korea are made in South Korea.
You see that? That's crazy. Look at that. 87. It's almost at 88. Look, did you see how far? That's like $1,000 move in like, a minute. That's crazy. Man.
Korea. 94% of the cars in Japan are made in Japan. Toyota sells 1 million foreign-made automobiles into the United States, and General Motors sells almost none. Ford sells very little. None of our companies are allowed to go into other countries. And I say that, friend and foe. And in many cases, the friend is worse than the foe in terms of trade. But such horrendous imbalances have devastated our industrial base and put our national security at risk. I don't blame these other countries at all for this calamity. I blame former presidents and past leaders who weren't doing their job. They let it happen, and they let it happen to an extent that nobody can even believe. That's why, effective at midnight, we will impose a 25% tariff on all foreign-made automobiles. Thank you. Brian, I'd like to have you come up here for a second, okay?
That is quite the candle. I mean, that's wild. And then it just goes down. The rest is really boring. So because this is all after the announcement, just look at. Oh, it actually went up for a little bit. Oh, he doesn't even share that part. Because I mean, it crashed. It's funny because you see this and you think, holy crap! But during, I don't know why it's cut off because he streamed. I know he streamed way more of this, or did he cut this out as a video? No, he was sharing that in real time. Yeah, I don't know what happened because it went on significantly longer, so I'm not sure why I'm not sure what's up with that, to be honest. Because yeah, it just crashed out after that, and that was like kind of after the actual news happened. There just wasn't that much there after that. Because there's what actually happened, and this is interesting. Because like yeah, here we saw this candle, right? We saw this go up to almost 88, and then it just tanked, just tanked. Look at this. Look at that. I mean, that's crazy. So I asked people on Twitter what they thought happened here. And I don't know. There's something about how are people so certain about everything? I don't understand this. When you have something new and unusual happen, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's just this, it's just that." So this one I respect this because at this point it feels like the market is being very heavily manipulated. There is no news, no way we have this much retail selling off at once. So I'm not really like. First off, I like that there's a little bit of uncertainty here. It's not so much, well, it's just this. Fisherman says liberation. And here we go. It says Joker, S Mega Trump. Chart has been yelling 72K for so long. It's tariff day. US just got liberated. Winning at losing. Trump's a jerk. Tariffs. And it drives me nuts. It's driving me nuts. This is also the tariffs. This part right here. This is why it drives me nuts. You guys weren't paying attention. You guys weren't paying attention. Not you guys, but the people in my chat on Twitter. This happened with the tariff announcement, and then it crashed. That's really, really bizarre. And no, it's not just tariffs, because tariffs did this and this. That's what's unusual. That's what's weird. That's crazy. How does that happen? I still don't understand it. Was it just independent? I mean, it could just be coincidence. It could just be total coincidence, but it just spiked when he was speaking, and when he was actually announcing the tariffs, as you saw, when he actually was talking about the policy, it just went bananas. It went up to 88, and then it just really fast crashed down. So is this people taking profits? People put in trades and they hit 88 and they're like, cool, sell, boom, done. I don't know. Well, and the other thing is we've heard this narrative that the prices are already, that everything's already baked in. Like we don't really get news pumps anymore because everything is so anticipated already. But then what explains this? How did this spike and crash happen? Chuckle is interesting because he has some background. Panic selling is all based on rumors and fear. I don't really pay much attention to it. I simply stay the course. Buy dips, add to LP. I said, yeah, but it spiked during the announcement of the very bad news. Also, we were told this was priced in, like the crypto summit. Trump tariffs were more than expected, should be then, and it's causing fear of a trade war that sparked the sell-off. Down, futures are down 100,000 points. I didn't pay much attention to what CNBC or Bloomberg says. Well, I wasn't paying attention to them either. I was watching it in real time, but back when I was trading fixed income professionally, we had flat screen TVs, multiple walls, playing CNBC and Bloomberg on mute. Yeah. Well, I mean, we were just watching the price. I said, but the Bitcoin spike, but BTC spiked, I should have said spiked, when he announced it. Wait, this is really small. Sorry. Let's zoom that out. There we go. That's a little better. It says, yeah, but I said Bitcoin speak when announced it, or is it your thesis that futures market clawed Bitcoin back down? Bitcoin will trade in tandem with indexes. Did index funds do that too? I don't know. I wasn't watching them. I was watching Bitcoin price with the announcement for all in cryptos post. So I don't know. I don't know what happened. Anyway, I guess this is interesting because I find it so fascinating that people are always so sure about this stuff. Like there's never any doubt. They're just like, oh, it's just this. Well, I don't know that you know that. I don't think that anybody knows that. And it really, I think a lot of people could use a sense of curiosity with some of this stuff. This is kind of a cool piece of news here. Brand new stable coins that are MiCA compliant are coming to Algorand. They'll be available in Folks LPs, which are EURQ and USDQ are coming to Algorand, powered by Quantos. And yeah, according to that, since November 2024, EURQ and USDQ have $50 million in trading volume. Trading pairs will be available on Folks Finance. Are they going to other ones besides that? Well, Kyle, at least for Alpha, great news. I don't know. What do you think about this? I'm just looking at some of the comments, and people are really bullish, and I think it is a good thing, but also, I don't know. We already have a euro stable coin and a USDC stable coin, so it's cool that it's MiCA compliant. That means in Europe we'll be able to use it. I don't know if that's like a giant, huge deal, but it's interesting.